All right. President Trump made a lot of claims in his hastily planned news conference. One of the exchanges got to what the heart of the allegation of fake is all about. When President Trump says that, more often than not, it means he doesn't like something. Here's a case in point played out in real time. You got NBC's Pete Alexander. He is a respected reporter, and he called the president out on one of his claims. Watch what happened.
You said today that you had the biggest electoral margin since Ronald Reagan with 304 or 306 electoral votes. In fact, President Obama got 365 and 2.
Well, I'm talking about Republican.
President Obama 332 and George H.W. Bush 426 when he won as president. So why should Americans trust?
Well, no, I was given that information. I don't know. I was just given. We had a very, very big.
All right. So what is the truth? The truth is the president is wrong. He hasn't had the biggest electoral victory since Ronald Reagan. You heard there Pete point out George H.W. Bush, 426 in 1988. Is it a big deal that he was wrong? Well, that's up to you. But it certainly isn't fake to call him out on it. And there are other issues of this that need to be addressed. It's not about how you feel about his style. It's about what is true, what is not. Let's keep it real. Let's bring in John Greenberg, staff writer at PolitiFact, to tell us what is fact and what isn't. John, appreciate the quick turnaround on this. Let's start with an easy one, all right? The Clinton debates. This is a big piece of ammunition for Trump supporters, certainly against CNN. The claim is that Hillary Clinton got debate questions from CNN. Here's the allegation.
They're giving stuff, what was said in an office about Hillary cheating on the debates, which, by the way, nobody mentions. Nobody mentions that Hillary received the questions to the debates.
Here are the facts. John, you tell me if I'm wrong, because I lived this situation. There were no debate questions given. He's talking about a town hall, not a debate. There was one question given. It was by Donna Brazile. It was not done by a reporter at CNN. It had nothing to do with the team that works on those special events. I've worked with them. They are of the highest integrity. And Brazile paid the price for that. What is your take on it?
That's precisely what we found, although we did find that there were two instances where somebody gave her the topic of a question. One involved whether states should allow the death penalty, and the other involved the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. But you know, the fact of the matter is that, as you rightly point out, there was enormous coverage of this. Donna Brazile had to step down from being an associate of CNN as an analyst, and the reality is it was two topics that were brought up, not a whole list of questions. So this, for us, was rated mostly false when it came up during the campaign.
I was even more forgiving. We gave it a not quite. And the reason I didn't name the other instances is because that involves somebody who had nothing to do with CNN at all. I was just sticking to what you could put on us, even within the realm of possibility. All right, Clinton on uranium, okay? This is what the president makes as an allegation.
Nobody talks about that. I didn't do anything for Russia. I've done nothing for Russia. Hillary Clinton gave them 20% of our uranium.
All right. Hillary Clinton gave them 20% of the U.S. uranium. Now, the little bit of context as to why this is false is this is a little bit of a discrete point, but it goes to not inventory of uranium, but capacity of uranium, and that's why it is easy to flag this as a false statement. But there's a more important reason. The real heart of the allegation, the unsupported proof in this accusation, is that Clinton did this. What is your take on that notion?
The actual process was that 9 federal agencies needed to sign off on this. I mean, essentially what you have is a Russian state-owned company buying a controlling share in a Canadian-based uranium company. And because that Canadian company had assets in the United States, then it was subject to approval. But there were 9 agencies that needed to sign off. And the only person who could actually kill the deal, technically, was President Obama. So it really doesn't fit with the way the process plays out to put it all on her.
Okay. Now, a last one. Again, a little bit of tricky. Mood of the business world. Markets are up. Absolutely no question about that. Here's what the president said.
The stock market has hit record numbers, as you know. and there has been a tremendous surge of optimism in the business world, which is, to me, means something much different than it used to. It used to mean, oh, that's good. Now it means that's good for jobs.
Now, you have one relative assessment, which is he said he inherited a mess here, and he's turned it around so quickly. If you compare, you can go online, look this up for yourselves, and see what the economic conditions were when Obama took over in that depth of that trough of the recession, and now this situation looks like a gift. But what do you make of the claim that the stock market rise shows that this is the Trump effect?
Well, there's a measure of truth in this because the investment community certainly looked at a Trump administration as being much more favorable to the things that matter to them in terms of taxes and in terms of regulation. So a lot of the people that we talked to said, yeah, people were much more upbeat. And in fact, of course, the Republicans held on to the entirety of Congress. You are quite right to point out that the economic momentum was going very nicely throughout the last year of the Obama administration. And so Mr. Trump did inherit something that was going in the right direction. He can't take full credit for it, but people did respond to his victory.
John Greenberg, thank you very much. Appreciate the help from PolitiFact as always. Allison, as you like to point out, this president has met with more business leaders than we've seen this pace early on. He's got an ambitious tax agenda to make up the gap for a lot of people who haven't shared in the economic prosperity that's come along with the stock market. But all of this fighting about what's fake and these distractions have kept his own agenda on hold.
Well, Chris, we will get into all of